Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Queens Lair. I am your host, Kellie Miles, and this is a two-part series called Moms of Murdered Sons. And we have some mothers that are joining us today. And the first mother is Daphne, Alston, and then we also have Kimberly, Burrell. So they're going to come and join us today. Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
Hi, Kelly. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And so I'm guessing that our guest, Daphne, might have had some technical difficulties. So she's going to join us. Oh, here she is. We have her now. Hi, Daphne. So glad you could join us today.
Hi, Daphne.
Yes. Thank you, ladies.
Absolutely. So the name of this series is Moms of Murdered Sons, and it's the namesake of Daphne's organization, her nonprofit organization. So we'll start with you, Daphne. Just share with us a little bit of information about your encounter and what happened with you and your son.
Okay. July the 13th, 2008, 10:30. I received a phone call at 11:30 saying he was shot. And the person on the other end of the phone, I said, don't call my house and stop playing like that. Nobody would shoot Tariq. I said, stop playing. So I hung the phone up. About 10 minutes later, another person called and said that Tariq was shot, and they told us the location. So that's when my husband went to the scene and then followed the ambulance to the hospital where Tariq succumbed to his death around 12:40 that night, which led to July the 14th. And so that's how I
I think we're having some more technical difficulties. I'm sorry with Daphne. So Daphne, we're going to just take a little break and go back to talk to Kim for now until we get your, I'm sorry, until we get your video back up. So Kim, we're going to just bring you in, and please just share with us a little bit of your story and tell us a little bit about what happened with you and your son.
His name is Darryl Prey. Darryl graduated high school at 15 years old. Smart kid, one of 5 children, the oldest son. And there's nothing really to do with children from 15 to 18. So when he turned 18 years old, he got himself caught up in the streets. Well, 17, he got caught in the streets. And I put him out my house because I had other children to raise. So he turned 18 in December. By July 21st, my son was murdered. I got the call at work. I was at work of all days, a hot summer, July. And my phone rang like crazy, 10, 11, 12 times. And when you're at work, that's the worst call a mother can get, you know? So I left work immediately, went to the hospital, and he was still in the emergency room, and he was pronounced dead at like 2 p.m. The whole neighborhood was in an uproar in South Philadelphia. And then an hour later, I'm still at the hospital with my son, and they bring in his little brother, the murderer's brother. Who was then dead on arrival as well. So I was traumatized because some of these people I didn't even know. And my family had just started to get there. So not only do we have my family and my husband's family, but we got an influx of another people. And cops come and tell me that, you know, we have to go to the other side of the hospital because now that person's brother was here and he's dead. So it was crazy. That was a crazy time in my life. I was in shock for years. I was in shock, you know? Yeah, but he was a smart kid. He wanted to be a computer networking engineer like his dad. He loved his siblings. He was very protective. The only good thing is Darryl was very good with money. He was very good with money. You know, during the trial, the DA said, she told the young man, you know, you were just mad because he was a better drug dealer than you, which was sad, you know. She said, but you know, he knew how to manage time and he knew how to manage money. And to me, that was just a waste. You know, so much talent. He was supposed to start Thompson in September, and we were in July. I just signed him up, signed all the documents. He was supposed to start in September, and he died. The last time I was with my son was July the 4th. I took all of my children and my husband at the time, their dad, to the Parkway. We got a hotel, we had pizza and everything. And that was the last time I saw my child. Last time. You know,
Wow.
so
And that has to be hard, and that kind of takes us into the next segment. And I apologize, we do have Daphne, who is supposed to be a part of us, and she's having some technical issues, and once she jumps back on, we'll come back to her as well. But it has to feel something, because as a mother, you know, what did you feel the moment when you heard that he had passed and you knew that you had put him out? Did you feel any kind of guilt? Did you feel like, is there something else that I could have done? What were some of the experiences and the emotional experience that you encountered?
well, guilt is automatic because as a mom who cares about her children and is in their lives and does the best that she can every day to take care of them, you start to feel like, what did I do? But when I put him out because I had 4 other children to take care of. And when I found out he was in the streets, I said, oh no, not in this house. I work, your father works. I have morals and values and I stick to that. So you had to go if you didn't want to do the things that are conducive to live in my home, point blank. So for a lot of years, I had a lot of guilt, about that. And some mothers who had lost children before me said, you shouldn't have put him out. And I'm looking like, no, I should have put him out. You know, and he was even going to move home when he started school. But he said, Mom, I'll move back home as soon as I start school. And I said, okay, I'm fine with that, you know, because he was the oldest son. And, you know, we put so much on our oldest children, but he had the oldest sister too. So, but he had younger brothers that looked up to him. So it was like, yeah, I felt a lot of guilt, a lot of guilt. And then like the day he died, um, he sent his brothers home. So we lived in Colwyn at the time and they were in South Philly. So he told them, go home. I'll be there later today. I'll come home later today. By the time they got home, Kelly, they were getting calls that their brother was killed. So I not only did I have to deal with my guilt for putting them out, I had to deal with my sons who felt guilt for years for leaving their brother. 20 minutes. You know, it took them an hour and a half to get the call in, but 20 minutes after they left, he was killed. They felt guilt for years, you know, and that's the guilt I had to deal with them. Guilt is definitely
Yeah.
there.
That's tough, and that's a big thing that we, you know, deal with as mothers, is feeling guilt, like it's something we could have done or should not have done. And I think we have Daphne back with us, so we're going to bring Daphne on and let Daphne share her emotional experience. Daphne, thank you so much for, you know, joining us again. Sorry for the technical issues that you're having, but can you please share with us your experience with your emotions when you found out and you got that call in 2008 that your son had been shot and killed? Share with us your feelings, the anger, the feelings of failure, disbelief, or pain that you endured.
Well, the first that, my husband went to the hospital. I guess he was gone 20 minutes, which seemed like hours. And we were sitting there, waiting for him to come back. Then he made the phone call to the house and he said, well, Daffy's gone. And I said, what you mean? He said it was one fatal wound to the head. I just don't know what happened. I guess I blanked out for a little bit, just in my thoughts. immediately went to run and lay down because that's what I do when I'm upset or disturbed. I go lay down on my bed, try to gather my thoughts together, and that's what I did. And till I got them, then family members started coming. You know, people were coming from everywhere, and I guess that was kind of keep me going. I guess I was in shock. I was froze.
Yeah.
And you know, the disbelief was like unreal. And again, like she say, what did I do wrong? What I shoulda, coulda did wrong? Did I, you know, what did I do wrong? That's the first thing. Is the guilt is horrible.
Yeah, the guilt is that's the same thing that we were talking about with Kim, and she said that that's the same thing as the guilt. And so I guess the next thing is how do you work through that? You know, did you feel like you failed as a mother? Did you feel like, you know, for other mothers who have lost their sons out there, how do you identify with that feeling of failure, that feeling of anger, that feeling of disbelief, and you know, how do you connect that? Did you question God at all? I think we're having some technical difficulties again. So we'll bring Kim back on as well. And Kim, maybe you can kind of talk a little bit also about that. Did you question God at all? Did you have any feelings of, you know, how could this happen?
Yes. I question God about everything. You know, and I went through this thing where it was like, my son, you know, I go to work, I pay bills, I paid it for them to go in daycare. Yeah, I questioned God. I wanted to know, why would you let my son go? Why would you take my son? And it got really bad because there were a lot of moms that my son encountered, and he would hang with, you know, in these women's homes. So when he died and they started coming to the house talking to me, right? I'm thinking they're telling me what an amazing man he was, how he bought food for their families and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't your son get killed? Bottom line, why is it my son in the ground? You uphold this trash. You know, you knew what they were doing. Your son, my son, and everybody else's son. Why isn't her son? And I asked God, why isn't their sons going? Why is it mine? The mother who fought to keep her son out of the mess, who
Yeah,
paid for daycare till they
that's
was
real.
13 or 14. So I knew where they were.
Mm-hmm.
Why my son? He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
perfect. He was in the streets. And when he died, I found out how much he was in the streets. But I was thinking, I know women who sell drugs with their kids.
Yeah.
Why my son? I didn't understand it. I was mad at God. I was mad at my husband. I got a divorce because of that. I was mad at everyone. I blocked everyone out except for my children, and I became very protective of them. At the time, my youngest was 12. You know, cell phones weren't allowed in school. I
Mm-hmm.
made it so no teacher took my daughter's phone. She is to call me anytime. I don't care if she's in the classroom in math. I need to know where my daughter is at all times. So from like the 7th grade to the 12th grade, she kept her phone, literally,
Mm-hmm.
and used it to call me. So yeah, you go through so much. You go through guilt. I drank a lot of alcohol for a year. It was bad. It was
Yeah.
really bad. Because you try to suppress the pain. But then thank God that he's a graceful God and he gives us mercy.
Yes.
He is the only person that knew what I was going through. And one day I woke up, I'm gonna tell you, Kelly, I woke up and I just started screaming.
Mm.
And I said, I can't do this anymore. I checked myself into a hospital and I needed to debrief. And they said I had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I went back to work like 6 months after he was killed. So I didn't give myself enough time. One thing I could say to mothers is to give yourself time. Give yourself
Yeah.
time to heal. So yeah, I had a mental breakdown. I just broke down. You know, I
Yeah.
couldn't go to work. I was pouring myself into work, and I should have been healing. You
Yeah.
know, the severing of a mother and a child is special. And when that tie is broken, and depending on how it's broken, it can destroy you. It can destroy you. Thank God, I knew God. Thank God I knew God. If I didn't know God, I don't know where I would be.
And it's pretty interesting because a lot of people feel when they go through these things, they feel isolated, like it's just them. They feel like this is the pain that they're feeling, and there's nothing that anyone can say or do to help them. And I think that you had to get to that place when you finally did that last scream and cry when you woke up. And that's when you finally realized, you know what, I can't deal with this on my own. That's when you have to get to that place and realize that there is help. There is a support system. Unfortunately, there is a community of women who have experienced this and who have gone through exactly what you went through. And so I'm glad that you were able to get to that place and reach out for that support and that help, because look at the blessing that you're able to be now to other people, to other mothers who are dealing with this, the networks that you have and the communication and the things, the support systems you have access to that you can share, in addition to you being able to get out there and help for preventative measures. So let's talk a little bit about the media and how what the family sees as opposed to what media shows you. And so, Kim, you did an interview last summer with the Public Interest Law Center when the Lost and Stolen gun laws won their first motion to suppress. So we're going to show a quick clip on that interview, and then we'll talk a bit about that.
Okay. I think what the public needs to understand is that you just don't destroy that one person. You just don't kill that one person. You mess up a whole tapestry of a family and a community. And it's never ending. It's like a ricochet, And so, yeah, it did affect us a great deal. We're still healing.
And so, just talking a little about that is trying to talk a little bit about what the public sees. The public sees the balloons, the public sees the teddy bears, the candlelit visuals, and all of that stuff. And after about a couple of days, it's gone for them.
Yes.
They've moved on. And unfortunately, because of the trending pattern, they just kind of go through those motions each time for a few days that they see something that comes up on the news. But when it really happens and it hits home, it is 2021 and you guys are still going through the process of recovering. Talk about that. Talk about the difference between the public's view and what you see at home.
Well, when little Darryl passed, I didn't really know a lot of people that lost sons to gun violence. So I just knew what I didn't want to see. So I didn't have a candlelight visual. I didn't let them wear t-shirts and balloons. I didn't, do all these things that they do now. It's like they honor death. And I know I didn't want this kind of death to be honored. I wanted it to be looked down upon. So what I did is I said, guess what? When you come to the funeral, I want y'all in dress clothes. Mm-hmm. I don't want balloons. I don't want any of those things. I'm not doing a candlelight visual. My son didn't live on a street. He lived in a home with his family. And that's how I wanted him remembered. So nobody came to the funeral with Darryl t-shirts. I even went to the gallery and I told the guy that makes the t-shirts, I said, stop making pictures of my son. I didn't give you permission to duplicate his photo. Stop it. And he stopped. I don't want to see my son's face all around the city. He's supposed to be alive. And another thing I have a problem with, I don't have no memorial posted, candles and all of that. These children, which they are in thought and mind, have become accustomed to following that type of ritual. And that's what I did not allow during my son's funeral. Didn't.
Mm-hmm. Daphne, we're so glad that you're able to join us again. Thank you so much for continuing to press to try to get through.
Yes.
And we apologize again for the technical issues you're running into. But if you're able to jump on again, we just want to kind of hear from you what your thoughts are about what the media shows as opposed to what the family actually goes through and deals with. Okay, looks like we're still struggling with some of the technical issues with Daphne. So tell us a little bit while we're waiting on the technical part for Daphne to come back in. So tell us a little bit, Kim, about your experience when you did the interview with the Public Interest Law Center when the lost and stolen gun laws won their first motion to suppress. Tell us a little bit about that, and how did you get involved with that?
Well, I got involved by State Representative Movita Harrell through the Victims Services Department in the District Attorney's Office. So Movita was very instrumental and still is instrumental in helping other women find their voice. She's like very charismatic, and she lost her other son a couple of months ago. So she's lost two sons.
Wow.
To gun violence, and the whole time she's been fighting it.
Yeah.
So she really got me on. She got me on the district attorney's CVAC program, and that's just a group of people that are victims who come together and assist the DA with how victims should be treated in the city of Philadelphia. No matter what the crime, but we've been inundated with gun violence. We've been inundated with it. So that's how it started. And I really, she gave me the power to be able to talk about my son and be his voice, because I was silent for so long. I grieved to myself. But she said he has a right. You have a right to speak for him.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to tell the world you're angry about the loss of your child.
Yeah.
So that's how I got involved with public law interest, because they knew that I was on the district attorney CVAC program board, actually. And then they needed a mother, because what they actually did is is Miss Daphne back?
Yes. Hey, Miss Daphne, we're gonna get through this. You keep on pressing. We're gonna get through this. I'm glad you got back on. Can you hear us? Okay, so we still have technical difficulties. Okay. So we can't hear you that well. You kind of breaking up, going in and out. But Miss Daphne, go ahead, because I really want to hear your story too. I really want to hear a little bit more about. Can you hear us? Okay, guys, I'm so sorry for the technical issues that we are having, but you said something, Kim, and you said that we're inundated with guns. Yes. So it's almost like its own separate pandemic, in my opinion. It's like something that just keeps continuing to perpetuate within our community. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about where we think that problem stems from. And so what I wanted to... So Ms. Daphne, are you there? You still breaking up. I can't hear you. I tell you, technology can be a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
Yes.
It can. So, but we're going to talk a little bit about the problem. So, in an article written on March 31st of this year on WHYY PBS News, it states that Philadelphia is set to receive $1.4 billion in aid through President Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus package as part of President Biden's new $2 trillion infrastructure and jobs proposals announced Wednesday of that particular day back then. He wants to devote $5 million $5 billion, over 8 years to support evidence-based community violence prevention programs. Now, Dr. Ruth Abaya, who manages the health department's injury prevention program, states the vast majority of our capital we would like to see spent on the pre-event phase. So before violence occurs, if we want to take truly public health preventative approach, if we really want to take that approach. However, Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw told a city council committee that the police department is focusing its resources on enforcement rather than on prevention or violence interruption, despite having more funding than other city departments that deal with gun violence. So what do you think about that?
Well, personally, I think that prevention is needed. I was just telling one of the people in GVI today, because I was out in the streets this morning, that, a kid has to get in trouble in order to get help. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
When I was growing up, I'm almost 50. So when I was growing up, we had summer jobs.
Yep.
All you had to do was have your birth certificate and your social security card. And, people gave you jobs, Job Corps, mom and pop shops would hire you. Those things do not happen anymore. They do not happen. And that's part of prevention. So I'm hoping to see, more mom and pop shops get funding from this so they can hire a young man, and we need to stop looking at their records.
Yeah.
We need to stop looking at their records. One thing I like about the GVI out of the Office of Violence and Prevention is they actually don't look at these young men's records. We see your record and we still help you, and that's what needs to happen.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, along those same lines, I think that it's such a travesty that people in society look at our young men and all they see is thugs and hoodlums, but they don't see the core issue of what's going on with them that causes them to respond or react a certain way. Not everybody's mother is a loving mother that provides all of these things. Some people are raising themselves and they don't have the resources and luxuries that other people have. And when you don't have that, your natural response is to go into survival mode. And I have to do what I have to do for me. And if you can see the root cause of what's going on and why this problem is happening, we would be able to help them a lot better instead of forcing them even more so to become angry because they're not viewed correctly and they're not being understood.
Correct. That's so correct. There's a lot going on in our society. It's a lot going on. Yeah. And these young men, they're going through. They're really going through. So, the lost and stolen gun law has been enacted since 2008. That would make sure that gun owners are responsible for their guns. So if your gun is lost or stolen, within 24 to 48 hours, you need to report it missing.
And let me stop you real quick before you go on, because I really want to get into that, but we're going to talk more about that in episode 2, because I think no, don't apologize, but I definitely want to get into that and talk a little bit about more of what the prevention method is. But we are actually running out of time, and we are so sorry that we missed Miss Daphne. We are going to have a part 2 to this particular segment. So please come back and make sure you stay tuned for part 2 of this series, Moms of Murdered Sons. We're going to have part 2. So stay tuned. When we do have part series, we're going to talk a little bit more about the healing process and what we need to do for that and how we can get some solutions and resources. So stay tuned for next time when we have Moms of Murdered Sons 2. Thank you for watching. And thank you so much, Miss Daphne and Kimberly, for joining us today.